I've watched seniors decline rapidly, people who seemed healthy one year, gone the next. And after 15 years of doing this work, I've noticed something that most families completely miss. It's not always a disease. It's not always bad luck. Sometimes it's habits that seem so harmless, so ordinary, that no one thinks twice about them until it's too late. I cared for a woman I'll call Dorothy. She was 74 when I started with her, active, independent, still driving herself to church on Sundays. Her daughter hired me mostly for companionship, to check in a few times a week, make sure she had everything she needed. Dorothy had that kind of energy that made you forget she was in her 70s. She'd meet me at the door with stories about her grandchildren, plans for her garden, questions about my life. But over 18 months, I watched something shift. Small things at first. She stopped meeting me at the door. I'd let myself in and find her sitting in her chair. The stories got shorter. The garden plans never quite materialized. She started saying she was tired more often, just tired. Her daughter would visit on Sundays and still see the Dorothy she'd always known, bright, conversational, present. But I was there 3 times a week. I saw what was happening between those Sunday visits, the energy draining away like water through cupped hands. When Dorothy passed at 76, her family was devastated. They kept asking, what happened? She looked healthy, and I understood why they felt that way. On any given Sunday, Dorothy probably did seem fine, but she wasn't fine. The decline had been there, steady and quiet, for months. Here's what I've learned in my 15 years of caregiving. The patterns that lead to rapid decline aren't always dramatic. They're not always the things doctors warn you about or that make headlines. Sometimes they're habits so woven into daily life that they become invisible. And the habits that wore Dorothy down? They're the same ones I've seen in dozens of other clients who declined faster than anyone expected. Today, I want to share 4 habits I've observed in the seniors who decline fastest. Not to scare you, not to add to whatever worry you're already carrying, but because I've also seen what happens when people recognize these patterns early and make different choices while there's still time. If you've noticed changes in yourself, maybe you're more tired than you used to be, maybe things feel harder than they should, I want you to know that noticing is the first step. Your awareness isn't paranoia. It's your body trying to tell you something. And if you're watching this about a parent or loved one, if something feels off, even though you can't quite name it, trust that feeling. You're here because you're paying attention. That matters more than you know. The 4 habits I'm about to share might surprise you. Staying up late is only ranked number 3, because the patterns I've watched steal the most life from seniors aren't always the ones people expect. They're quieter than that, more ordinary, and that's exactly what makes them so dangerous. These habits I'm about to share, I've seen them steal years from people I cared about deeply. But I've also watched people recognize them and turn things around in ways that gave them time they wouldn't have had otherwise. If this is reaching you, if you're finding value in what I'm sharing from my years of working with seniors, comment the number 4 below, just the number 4, so I know this information is getting to the people who need it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I share these insights every week, patterns I've learned from being there every single day with the people going through this. Now let me tell you about the first 2 habits, starting with the one everyone expects. Habit number 4 is probably the one you're expecting, staying up late. And yes, sleep matters. I've cared for plenty of night owls over the years. The 72-year-old man who'd stay up until 2 in the morning watching television, then wonder why he had no energy during the day. His body never fully recovered, never got that deep restorative sleep it needed. But here's the thing. Most seniors already know sleep is important. You've probably heard it 100 times from your doctor. So while it's on this list, it's ranked 4th because it's not the revelation I'm most worried about sharing with you. What I am worried about is habit number 3, and this is the one that families miss completely, sitting all day without realizing it. I cared for a man I'll call Tom. I use a different name to protect his privacy. He was 80 years old when I started working with him. Strong guy, independent. Every Saturday and Sunday, he was out in his yard, raking leaves, trimming hedges. His family would come by on the weekends and see him out there working, and they'd think, Dad's doing great. He's so active. And Tom thought the same thing about himself. He'd tell me, I stay active. I work in the yard every weekend. But I was there Monday through Friday. And here's what I watched happen. Tom would wake up, shuffle from his bedroom to his kitchen table, sit down for breakfast. Then he'd move from the kitchen table to his recliner in the living room, sit there most of the morning watching the news, reading the paper. Around lunchtime, he'd get up, make a sandwich, sit back down. Afternoon was more television, maybe a nap in that same chair. Then I'd help him with dinner, and he'd spend the evening right back in that recliner until bedtime. Chair to bed, bed to chair. When he had doctor's appointments, I'd drive him. He'd sit in my car, sit in the waiting room, sit in the exam room, then back to sitting in my car on the drive home. We're talking 12, 14 hours a day of sitting. But because he was active on weekends, neither he nor his family saw the pattern. Within a year, I watched his legs weaken so dramatically he could barely stand without assistance. Getting up from that recliner became this major effort. He'd have to rock forward twice, 3 times to build momentum. His balance got shaky. The weekend yard work got harder and harder until eventually he couldn't do it at all. And his family couldn't understand what happened. They'd say, but he was just out raking leaves a few months ago. Here's what I've learned in my 15 years of doing this work. The body forgets how to move when you stop asking it to. Muscles weaken, balance deteriorates, joints get stiff. And once the body forgets, getting that strength back is 10 times harder than maintaining it in the first place. I've seen it happen over and over. This isn't about exercise programs or gym memberships. This is about basic movement disappearing from daily life so gradually that you don't even notice it's gone. So I want you to do something right now. Count the hours you spend sitting in an average day. Actually count them. Breakfast table, morning in your favorite chair, lunch, afternoon, dinner, evening television. How many hours is that? Most people have no idea until they actually track it. And if you're watching this about a parent or loved one, pay attention during your next visit. Watch how often they're sitting versus standing, because this is the pattern families miss until it's already too late. The good news is this isn't set in stone. I've watched people turn this around, but you have to notice the pattern first. You have to see it for what it is, because once you do, you can make different choices, even small ones. And those small choices add up more than you might think. Now let me tell you about habit number 2. And I need to be honest with you, this habit has frightened me more than almost anything else I've witnessed in my 15 years of caregiving. Not drinking enough water. Here's what happens. As we age, our sense of thirst changes. It diminishes. Seniors stop feeling thirsty the same way younger people do. The signal just stops reaching you the way it used to. So you have no internal alarm system telling you to drink. You might go all morning, all afternoon, and not feel thirsty once. But your body? Your body is desperately thirsty. It's just that the signal isn't getting through anymore. I cared for a woman I'll call Margaret. I use a different name to protect her privacy. She was 77 when this happened, sharp as a tack. We'd sit at her kitchen table and she'd tell me stories about her teaching days, remember dates and names and details that amazed me. Her mind was so clear. Then one Tuesday afternoon, her daughter called me in a panic. She'd stopped by to drop off groceries and found Margaret confused, disoriented, didn't know what day it was, couldn't remember if she'd eaten lunch. Her daughter asked her simple questions, and Margaret's answers weren't making sense. They rushed her to the hospital. The doctors ran tests immediately, worried it might be a stroke. Her daughter was terrified. I was terrified. After 3 days of IV fluids, just water, essentially, delivered directly into her bloodstream, Margaret came back to herself. Fully. The confusion cleared. The disorientation lifted. It wasn't a stroke. It wasn't dementia. It was severe dehydration. But here's what haunts me. I've also seen cases where the damage wasn't reversible, where the dehydration went on too long, caused too much harm, and even after treatment, the person never quite came all the way back. In my years of doing this work, I've seen dehydration mistaken for dementia more times than I can count. I've watched urinary tract infections turn into serious hospitalizations because someone wasn't drinking enough water. UTIs in seniors can cause confusion that looks exactly like cognitive decline, and they happen so much more easily when you're dehydrated. I've seen kidney problems develop. I've watched every other health issue get worse because the body simply didn't have enough water to function properly. Most of the seniors I've cared for were drinking maybe 2 glasses of water a day. Maybe. Some days less than that. They'd have their morning coffee, maybe some juice with lunch, a cup of tea in the evening, and they'd think that was enough. But it's not. Coffee and tea are diuretics. They actually make you lose water. And by the time you feel thirsty, if you feel thirsty at all, you're already dehydrated. Your body needs water for everything. Every single system in your body depends on it. Your brain needs it to think clearly. Your kidneys need it to filter waste. Your heart needs it to pump blood efficiently. When you're not drinking enough, your body starts making hard choices about where to send the limited water it has, and you feel the consequences in ways you might not even connect to dehydration. The fatigue, the confusion, the dizziness, the constipation, the headaches. I'm not telling you this to frighten you. I'm telling you because I've sat with too many families who wished someone had warned them sooner. Because I've watched this pattern play out too many times. And because, unlike some of the other habits we're talking about, this one has a solution that's so simple it almost seems too easy. But it works. I've seen it work. If you're finding this helpful, leave the number 2 in the comments, just the number 2, so I know these insights are reaching the right people. Now let me tell you about the habit that's ranked number 1, the pattern that steals more life than any of the others I've mentioned. Habit number 1. After 15 years of doing this work, this is the pattern that steals more life than any other habit I've mentioned. Isolating themselves. When seniors stop having regular, meaningful contact with other people, when the phone calls get shorter and less frequent, when visits taper off, when they stop going to their card games or their church groups or their book clubs, I watch them decline in ways that genuinely terrify me. Let me tell you about 2 people I cared for. I'll call them Robert and Helen. I use different names to protect their privacy. Both were 79 years old. Both lived alone. Both had similar health backgrounds when I started working with them. Robert had breakfast at the same diner with the same group of friends every Tuesday and Thursday morning. He volunteered at the library on Monday afternoons, shelving books and chatting with the librarians. His daughter hosted Sunday dinner every week, and he never missed it. When I'd arrive at his house, he'd always have a story ready about something that happened at breakfast or something funny one of his grandkids said at dinner. He stayed connected. He stayed engaged with the world around him. Helen's husband had passed away about a year before I started caring for her. And after he died, she just stopped going out. Her friends would call and invite her to their weekly coffee meetup, but she'd make excuses. Too tired, not feeling well. Maybe next week. The senior center kept sending her their activity calendar, but she'd toss it aside. Her son would visit every couple of weeks. But the visits got awkward because Helen didn't have much to say. Nothing was happening in her life worth talking about. Same age, similar health. But the outcomes couldn't have been more different. Robert is still thriving today at 86, still has his breakfast twice a week, still volunteers, still shows up for Sunday dinner with stories to tell. Helen passed away at 81. I was there through Helen's decline, and I watched what isolation did to her body. Her blood pressure crept higher. She developed more inflammation. Her joints hurt more. Her arthritis got worse. She couldn't fight off infections the way she used to. A cold would linger for weeks, and her mind got foggier. Not dementia exactly, but a kind of dimming, like a light slowly losing power. The loneliness didn't just hurt her emotionally, it killed her physically. I watched it happen. When you're isolated, your body treats it like a chronic stressor. Your cortisol levels stay elevated, your immune system weakens, your inflammation increases, your blood pressure rises, you're at higher risk for heart disease, stroke, cognitive decline. The research backs this up, but I don't need research to tell me what I've witnessed over and over in my years of caregiving. But here's what I also need you to know. I've seen people turn this around. I've watched 75-year-olds who'd been isolated for months finally join one group, just one, and suddenly they're laughing again, moving again, living again. I've seen the color come back to their face, the energy return to their voice, the light come back on in their eyes. If you're feeling that pull to stay home, to not bother, to skip the gathering because it feels like too much effort, I want you to know that I've seen that resistance in every isolated senior I've ever cared for, every single one. It's so common. That feeling that it's easier to just stay in, that you don't want to be a burden, that you're too tired, that it won't matter anyway. Push through it anyway. Call one person today. Accept one invitation this week. Join one thing, a group, a class, a standing coffee date. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be every day. But it has to be something, because the connection you think doesn't matter, it matters more than almost anything else for your health and your longevity. Your body needs other people, not in some abstract emotional way, in a physical, measurable, life or death way. I've seen it proven true too many times to stay silent about it. Before we wrap up, if you've found value in what I've shared today from my years of caregiving, I'd be grateful if you'd subscribe to this channel. I share these patterns every week, the things I've learned from being there every single day with seniors going through these exact challenges. Now, let me tell you the most important part. These 4 habits, staying up late, sitting all day, not drinking enough water, and isolating yourself, have stolen years from people I cared about deeply. I've watched them accelerate decline in ways that broke my heart. But here's what I need you to hear. I've also watched people recognize these patterns and make changes that gave them time they wouldn't have had otherwise. I've seen 75-year-olds start drinking more water, just water, nothing complicated, and get their energy back within weeks. The brain fog lifted, the fatigue decreased. They felt like themselves again. I've watched 80-year-olds who could barely stand from a chair rebuild strength I honestly thought was gone forever. Not through intense workouts, through standing up more often, walking to the mailbox. Small movements that added up over time. The body wants to heal. The muscles want to work. You just have to give them the chance. And I've seen isolated seniors join one thing, just one group, one standing coffee date, one weekly gathering, and suddenly they're laughing again. The color comes back to their face, the light returns to their eyes, they're moving again, living again, engaged with the world in ways that literally change their health outcomes. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Not all 4 things at once. That's overwhelming, and change doesn't work that way. Pick one, just one. Set an alarm on your phone to drink water every 2 hours because you won't feel thirsty, but your body needs it anyway. Keep a glass by your chair. Drink it when the alarm goes off. Simple as that. Or find one reason to stand up every hour. Walk to the window and look outside. Go to the mailbox. Stand at the kitchen counter instead of sitting. Your legs need to remember how to hold you. Or protect your sleep like it's medicine. Because it is. Pick a bedtime and stick to it. Your body needs that recovery time more than you need another hour of television. Or call one person this week. Accept one invitation. Join one thing. The resistance you feel, the voice that says it's easier to stay home, that you're too tired, that it won't matter, I've heard that voice in every isolated senior I've cared for. Push through it anyway. Make the call. Show up once. See what happens. I'm not going to tell you this is easy. Change never is, especially when these habits have been there for years, woven into your daily routine so thoroughly you don't even notice them anymore. But your body is still listening. It still wants to heal. It still responds to better choices. You still have time to do things differently. I make these videos because I've held too many hands at the end. I've heard too many regrets from families who wished someone had warned them sooner. I've sat through too many conversations that started with, "Why didn't anyone tell us?" And I decided I couldn't stay silent anymore. So I'm giving you what I wish I could give everyone: awareness while there's still time to make different choices. You're not alone in this. Whether you're watching this for yourself or for someone you love, You're not alone. These patterns are common. These struggles are normal. And the fact that you're here, paying attention, trying to understand, that already matters more than you know. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And I'll see you in the next one.